Sego Suwagwego. Good morning, everyone. It is now October the 16th, and we are at the regular council meeting here at the Mohawks of Quinte. I say good morning to everybody, and I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving weekend with lots of turkey and stuffing and time with your families. And so we have an agenda before us, and the first item of business is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll second.
Shelley, I don't seem to have a copy of the agenda here. I have the minutes, but not the agenda. So the first item of business is the October 1st, 2024 minutes. The corrections that I have is the BGH for motion 1, where the regrets. Charles was completing errands for that. We just put in there the BGH long-term care fundraising gala.
Is that the October 1st
Pardon?
minute?
October 1st, 2024. That's what's here in my reading book.
My minutes are saying that.
Could I have a copy of the agenda, please? Okay, thank you.
That's different.
Where it went to?
Mine looks like yours.
Yep.
Chief, are you referring to the regret section?
Yeah, in the regret section, Charles Miracle, Executive Assistant.
Follow the, at the
Completing-
bottom of present?
Errands for the
Okay.
BGH LTC fundraising gala. So they know what gala it is. And the other correction was motion 8. And for the $1,044,581.83, it should be for the construction and non-construction costs. So it explains why there's a difference between those two numbers, because the public will read these minutes. So the first item is the construction cost, and the total is the non-construction cost for engineering. And thank you, Shelley.
Okay, so, Shelley, motion number 8 of those minutes, of the minutes. In the amount of $809,753.42 are for construction costs. Or what did you say, Chief?
Yeah, the 809, 753 are construction costs, and the total budget is $1,044,581.83 is for construction and non-construction costs.
For both construction and non-construction costs.
And under Shelley, under regrets, on October the 1st, it'll be before gala, it'll say BGH LTC fundraising gala. Those are the only corrections that I see. Are there any other errors or corrections to the minutes? Any other errors or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a mover to accept these minutes as corrected?
I'll move that.
Chris Brandt, is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Aaron? So I'll read the minutes. The motion is carried. The minutes are read as follows. The meeting of the regular council meeting of October the 1st, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. took place here in the council chambers. I was present. Councillor Chris Brandt was present. Curtis Brandt present. Aaron Brandt present. Chris Miracle present. Regrets, Chase Gori Brandt work commitment and Linda Louie not feeling well, so they were absent. Angela Miracle, the Director of Operations, was here. And the Assistant Recording Secretary. And Sherry, I think you were on holidays. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So we'll correct the minutes. Note that CAO Sherry Miracle on vacation.
So my name's under regrets. So we could just put on vacation.
So then carry on. It was moved by Aaron and seconded by Chris Brandt to adopt the agenda. The motion was carried. Motion 2 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Chris Brandt that the council minutes of September 16, 2024 be approved. The motion was carried. Motion 3 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Chris Brandt to approve the following meetings outside the territory. Chief will be attending the First Nations Homeless and Mental Illness Forum on November 13th, 14th in Vancouver. The motion was carried. Motion 4 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Chris Brandt that the regular minutes of November the 6th and 20th to approve the following meeting dates for November, December 2024. The regular council meeting will take place on November the 6th and 20th at 9:30 a.m. Local business will be November 13th and 27th at 7 p.m. For December, the regular council will take place on December the 4th and 18th at 9:30 a.m. Local business will be on December the 11th at 7 p.m. The motion was carried. Motion 5 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Curtis Brandt to approve to participate in the National Aboriginal Lands Managers Association information session on land management on reserve land, October the 16th, 2024, 1 to 3 p.m. That motion was carried. Motion 6 was moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Chris Brandt to approve to get a legal opinion regarding the Deloitte proposal for the distribution of the payments from the Culberson partial settlement distribution to ensure that the proposal is sound and there are no pitfalls. Motion was carried. Motion 7 was moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Chris Brandt to approve to arrange a meeting with the Bank of Montreal with Indigenous Services Canada to discuss the options on setting up a trust account for minor children who are eligible for payment from the Culberson partial distribution. That motion was carried. Motion 8 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Chris Brandt to approve awarding the tender to Gordon Barr in the amount of $809,753.42 for the Ferry Lane Extension Servicing Project. That should say water servicing. Water and sewer. It's water and sewer servicing project for a total budget in the amount of $1,044,581.83 with a note there for construction and non-construction costs. Other tenders were received from Scott Trudeau for $828,660.96 and billed all contractors for $979,106.70. The motion was carried. Motion 9 was moved by Chris Brandt and seconded by Curtis Brandt to approve the signing of the letter of permission to harvest in our traditional area for Logan DeMille, and we should put the First Nation there from there too, if we can. The motion was carried. Motion 10 was moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Aaron Ferranti to approve the business registration renewal for Take Charge Ministries owner Barry Miracle. The motion was carried. Motion 11 was moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Aaron Ferranti to defer the request from the Smoke Depot to sell alcohol for information on the business having insurance. The motion was carried. Motion 12 was moved by Aaron Ferranti and seconded by Chris Miracle to approve the signing of the memorandum of understanding to participate in the Kahnawake School Diabetes Prevention Program, Community 2C project. Motion was carried. Motion 13 was moved by Aaron Ferranti and seconded by Curtis Brandt to approve the addition to Quinte MBQ organization structure of an enhanced support worker for Dahadi Di Gohosotuni Head Start. Motion was carried. Motion 14 was moved by Aaron Ferranti and seconded by Chris Brandt to approve the payment of the JFK Law invoice in the amount of $825 for the cease and desist issue. The motion was carried. Motion 15 was moved by Aaron Ferranti and seconded by Chris Brandt to defer the MBQ audit for 2023 for full council review. The motion was carried. Motion 16 was moved by Chris Brandt and seconded by Aaron Ferranti that whereas the Tyendinaga Mohawk Council is in full support of the application to the Canada-Ontario Resource Development Agreement, CORDA, for the planting of 128 sugar maple trees at the Bayshore Road Park and the powwow grounds. totaling $24,550 as a replanting effort from the previous removal of 42 ash trees, and therefore be resolved that the council supports the application to Corda for $24,550, including a $22,050 contribution to come from Corda. The motion was carried. For it to be resolved, the Mohawk Council agrees to commit the remaining $2,500. Council Resolution 2425-060 was signed and carried. If funding is approved from Corda, application staff to ensure that 3 competitive quotes are received for the purchase of the 126 sugar maple trees. Motion 17 was moved by Aaron Ferranti and seconded by Curtis Brandt to approve to rent the fire hall for the, we should put the amount in there rent we're getting, if we can, for the First Nations Housing Professional Association Workshop, and Tom Kring, Director of Housing and BPM, to provide for a tour of MVQ's current and recent projects. The motion was carried. Motion 18 was moved by Aaron Ferranti and seconded by Chris Brandt to approve the submission of the application to the Green Inclusive Building Program for the planned new emergency shelter project, including the total project of $10,685,000, $10,685,012.25, with a contribution of $1 million from the Mohawk Bay Quinte. The motion was carried. Sherry, is the fire hall amount 15,000? So what they pay us? Does Sherry, do you recall, Shelley?
So
The
is
fire
that-
hall, the fire, what are we getting for rent from the National Fire Association?
We would have to look into that.
Okay, just put the amount in there, just for. Motion 19 was moved by Aaron Ferranti, seconded by Chris Brandt, to approve proceeding with a new recreation center without a pool or lacrosse hockey rink. That should be rink instead of ring. Approved to move forward with the previously approved arena committee and have them review the previous arena conceptual floor plans and elevation. The committee will work with MBQ staff for a recommendation to TMC for next steps and approve to distribute a request proposals for preliminary planning for an indoor swimming pool. This will include feasibility, background, conceptual design, community engagement, and estimates for construction and operation and maintenance. Motion was carried.
Oh, that should also say for a lacrosse arena as well. The indoor swimming pool and the lacrosse box.
Okay, when we get to the amendment, Aaron will bring that up.
Oh, it's in there.
Chris Miracle, a negative vote, whereas there is $15 million contribution from MBQ. Where's the $15 million contribution from MBQ coming from? Council discussed quotes to receive for new docks at the Ferry Lane and Shanville launches. The 3 quotes have been received from Dock Factory, $34,777 for the Ferry Lane, $24,703 for Shannonville. The Quinte Docks Company, $37,440 for the Ferry Lane project, and $29,480 for the Shannonville Dock project. LW Docks, $48,192 for the Ferry Lane project, and $30,294 for the Shannonville Dock. After reviewing the quotes, we should say it was determined, or council determined, that the Quinte Docks wheels, or should say it was determined that the Quinte Docks has wheels for easier installation and removal. Motion by Chris Brandt and second by Chris Miller to approve the purchase of new docks at the Ferry Lane and Shanville launches from Quinte Docks. The motion was carried. And the issue was one had wheels and the other one didn't. Is that correct? Motion 21 was moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Chris Brandt to approve staff have the boat launches repaired before the weather gets cold and work with Councillor Chris Brandt on a plan to get this completed. The motion was carried. Council confirmed the following scheduled meetings. October the 9th, there will be the local business meeting. October the 16th will be the Mohawk regular council meeting. October the 22nd will be the council local business. November the 26th and 27th will be the AI data governance gathering meeting. And it was moved by Aaron and seconded by Curtis Brandt that this meeting go in private at 1:17 p.m. The motion was carried. These are the minutes that were recorded by Shelley Brandt, the executive assistant and recording secretary to the council. Okay, Aaron, you had a comment?
I think Shelley got it. Yeah,
Pardon me?
I think Shelley got it.
I need to get it. I'm getting-
It's in this section here, where it says to move ahead with the pool. It's also the pool and the lacrosse box.
We had pool and lacrosse pucks.
Yes.
No, I did get an email from one of the community members stating that I was opposed to the lacrosse pucks. That just isn't so. What I said, if lacrosse is where most people are playing, it should be a priority for the recreation center. I simply asked, what is wrong with the existing one? It was a question. Okay, are there any other errors or corrections to the minutes of October the 1st?
Chief, I have some comments regarding motion 16. A day or two after that meeting, I sent an email saying we should probably have applied for docks through Corda. We could have deferred the purchase, applied to Corda, and Corda could have paid for them as opposed to somebody wanting maple trees. The community wants, we already agreed we need
Okay,
docks.
I guess what
And
can
then, and then my email was, you had a week to amend it, and it wasn't followed through.
So right now, we can't do anything about it because the Corda application date
Okay.
is closed, right?
Yes.
I know, but we could have, with a week's notice, we could have spent 20 minutes massaging the application
So
for
Sherry,
docks that we really needed, and I don't see the communities wanting the maple trees.
okay, when did we get the Corda notification? Is there quick staff pickup on these things? Is it sent to the counselors right away so they have ideas, they can put forward their ideas, or is it just all last minute?
I believe the deadline was October 7th, and I believe we received this information literally days before the closing,
Okay.
Chief. So to answer your question, no, we were not given an opportunity, ample opportunity to provide input. And when input was provided, it was ignored.
So anyway, if council wants to do something, if the staff put forward a recommendation, if you have other ideas, which Chris did put forward, was there not enough time to submit a proposal, or the plurality, well, obviously the plurality at council was the maple trees.
Shelley has a,
Quite honestly, I was on vacation when all this has occurred, so I'd
Yeah.
have to look into that.
I just want to know what date did we get notified by Corda that they were accepting proposals? Because as soon as I get the information,
Yeah.
it's sent on to the
To
Tom
everyone.
and to everybody. So I recall sending that information out. Go ahead.
Shelley has some information for us.
Okay, go ahead.
Emails everybody saying, okay, if you wish to apply for something different, please let me know. The deadline is, I think he sent that on a Thursday or Friday. Please let me know what you want to do by Monday at 4 o'clock.
And did he get any?
And so he responded. So we went.
So is there any comment on that? So if you want something, you have to pay attention to your emails and respond.
I believe my email was sent before that 4 o'clock. I sent it to CAO and Chief and Council,
Can you circulate
and I will
that?
double check that.
Circulate that email, Chris, to Sherry and to the council. But anyhow, based, I guess, on his input, we had one suggestion. By the looks of it, Chris is saying he did respond within the time frame. And I do recall him mentioning it at council, but it was put on the agenda and the council did pass a motion, so there's not much we can do about it. The application has already gone in for the maple trees.
Chief, motion 19.
Yes?
I think council should share my concerns regarding another committee. And I would like to see background information on this arena committee formation. And the reason I say that is we have a recreation committee with no budget. They have no money, but they're supposed to come up with ideas and suggestions. We have another committee, recreation, sports related. They have all the money. And now we're talking about another committee called the Arena Committee. There's 3 or 4 committees in the area of recreation, but it just seemed to be very dysfunctional. There's no terms of reference. You run
They're
for
working on
council,
the
you get a
terms of
2-year
reference right now.
mandate. Our committees typically say, you sit on a committee, you're on this committee for 2 years, 3 years. Some of these committees seems like they've been on it forever. And it's not fair to the community. It lacks transparency, it lacks accountability, that there might be new people out there with fresh ideas, and they're not giving a chance. And again, I'd like to see some background information on this Arena Committee. Was it ever advertised to the community, or did a councillor just pull his back pocket and a couple of friends decided we'll be the committee?
I don't know anything about the formation of the Arena
Shelley?
Committee. Where did that come from? Shelley?
There's a motion on the second to establish the committee, so you will have to rescind that original motion to that.
So that was the previous council, not us. So
It's
I've
just
never
on-
heard of this either. Never seen it.
Tommy just brought it up last week to reestablish it because there
And so
wasn't
there were
an active
applications
one,
taken for the
and they're
Arena
working
Committee?
on the terms of reference.
So it's the previous council did that.
Okay, so check to see if there was any advertisement to, apparently there was a motion of council, from what Shelley tells us, back in 2022, to establish an Arena Committee. And I guess what should happen is the terms of reference for the committee should be posted in the newsletter. There should be terms of reference for every committee. And then
They're
when there
working
are
on the
new
terms of
members, it
reference
should
right
be
now.
advertised in the newsletter. And then whoever is on that committee it should be brought to council and approved so that council knows who the committee members are.
The Parks and Recreation Committee
not
also
really
has been asking
administrative,
for
it-
participation, and they haven't got any. So it's been posted in the newsletter. It's on Facebook. It's been called out,
And
emailed,
what are you
sent
talking
around.
about?
The Parks and Recreation Committee that you had
He's
mentioned.
talking about the Arena Committee.
I know. I was talking about that as well. You guys
Well,
just
two
don't
different
listen. You
committees.
talk
The
over.
Arena Committee, you're
Please,
talking-
don't quibble, listen to each other, please. Go ahead.
I thought you were talking about the Arena Committee. I
That's
wasn't
that,
talking about the Recreation Committee.
and what she's saying, Chris, she is talking about the Arena Committee. Her comments
I'm
are
talking
about,
about both of the committees. You had earlier mentioned when you were stating that we have all these committees that are not functional and you want people to join with new minds, and they're asking for people to join. The committees are asking, there's call outs, and so
Okay.
everywhere they're doing call outs to ask for people to come and give their feedback.
So you're talking Recreation Committee, that's just fine, but I
Which
would
is what you had
suggest, I would
mentioned.
suggest we focus on the issue I raised, which was the Arena Committee, which was hatched some years ago when we were going to build a $50 million NHL-sized arena.
I'm just responding to what you also said because you had
Okay.
called
Okay,
out
well,
all the
one thing at a
arenas
time.
and all of the parks and
One
recreation.
thing at a
committees.
time, please. I can only focus on one thing. And my question and my concern for, and this comes from also from Recreation Committee, because they're saying, you have us on a committee, we have no budget, we have no authority, but then this committee over here has literally
Okay,
hundreds of thousands. Where is the mandate? Where's the terms of reference? At some point that sunsets and you get new people in there. And then all of a sudden we had a arena committee hatched, and this stuff is just
Okay,
like this.
so
It's just
for what-
blurted out, no thought, and all of a sudden all that's the gospel. And I don't believe that's what the community wants.
Shelley?
Shelley?
The community development fund committee. I'm administrative for that, the administrative support, not a little body. I put out a letter to every business registered with Mohawk to sit on this committee. I have never got a response from a business owner or a community member. I just put it out in the newsletter that, you know what, it's a committee, it's a volunteer, you don't get paid to sit on this.
So what I'm hearing is that,
Where does this council or does one person say, I put out letters to a business? I thought it's for the community, and the community has a chance.
Well, that's not
because
council.
Because it's not just business people
Okay.
that sit on that. So for what reason
she said,
do letters
Chris,
to all the
that-
businesses
community
go out, and all of a sudden remedies the situation?
Chris, you're not listening to
I
what
am
she's saying.
listening. She's saying she sent letter to the businesses, the business didn't respond.
And community members,
And I'm saying the community would like to have an opportunity to sit on these things, but it's not advertised to the community. I heard say a letter went out.
She
to
said
some
it was
people.
advertised in the newsletter, Chris.
If you know of a community member that wants to sit on this committee, please send them to me. Everybody knows that I'm the administrative support for this committee. All they have to do is call me, send me an email, I'll be more than glad. The committee consists of 4 business owners because of the tobacco quota money that's being administered in this account to distribute to the community. So we have 4 business owners, 1 community member, and 1 youth.
And there's over,
We have 3 youths that are on our committee, 1 meeting, each of them attended, then
the council did approve for that TCDF money and for a recreation project. And the council also did approve to invest, I think, over $3 million in a GIC. Is that correct? Where's it was invested, the TCDF money, because I did, at audit time, I did question, where was the other 3 million for this recreation center? And there was a motion to invest it in into a GIC. So there is money, there is a budget for it. Is it sufficient? Probably not. And so they'll have to go after government funding to top it up. But I guess the committee members it's not a paid committee, but there should be, if it's a committee of council, then there should be terms of reference approved by council, and the posting should, so when people sit on that committee, they should know what their parameters are. And then when the names are put forward, it was brought back, put it on the agenda for approval, then that way council knows who is on the committees of council. That's not just an administrative
That's what
issue.
they're doing right now.
It's a committee of council. The TCDF is a committee of council. Ogwari?
This is directed at Chris. Chris, do you remember that you were the one that seconded the motion to create an arena committee?
Pardon me?
Do you remember that you were the one that seconded the motion to create an arena committee?
But we also agreed that, okay, you weren't at the table at the time. And it goes back and forth. And at some point I say, wait a second. Why does the recreation committee say, what are we here for? We have no budget. We don't have this. So most of them don't show up. And they're like, and then this committee over here has an endless budget, all recreation related. And then we have another arena committee. And I'm just saying, at some point, and the chief said it very eloquently, at one point we used to have committees of council. Here's your terms of reference. We used to, if you're on a committee, maybe every decade you provide a report. Here's the activities, here's what's happening. But no, there's just people run off this way, they run off that way, and blame it on COVID. But there was a lack of accountability, there's a lack of transparency, and there's a lack of opportunity for community members to get involved. And that's why you see the same old people sitting on these things.
So the way it should work is the minutes of the committees of council usually were put on the agenda for information sharing. The council would acknowledge receipt of the minutes, and it was a way to share information. So we don't have this disjointed process. Council is supposed to be informed. You're steering community money there, and that's all good. And I appreciate the work of the committee. They do show up. We need these committee volunteers because we don't have enough time at council to do this. So we have committees to work with the community and set the priorities and parameters and have the dialogue with the community on what the community wants and don't want. So the committees are good, but maybe we can improve it by having terms of reference for the committee and post them. And then, as Shelley said, she's already advertised. Both she asked business people to sit on it and community members, and the response is poor. And so there's not much that we can do if community members get the information or if council get it and they don't respond.
Chief, you want a motion for all committees to have terms of reference, et cetera,
Well,
et cetera?
if it's a
They
committee
do.
of council, it shouldn't need,
Parks and Rec
it
has
shouldn't,
terms of reference.
every committee should, that's a committee of
This
council needs a
committee will
terms of
have
reference. They all,
Need so many committees.
It creates confusion.
I mean, like, we're having,
the TCDF has nothing to do with establishing a rec complex or recreation activity. They administer this pot of money to the community. That's what the TCDF is. They contribute money toward these projects.
okay, Chris,
but
she's
they
done.
They don't organize them or, I mean, and it's by application process, so you have to do an application to apply for funding. And they come in, they meet 4 times a year to go through the application.
They dole out money. That's all they do. They cannot establish committees of council.
So
But when that motion was passed at council, The administrative staff should have developed terms of reference for approval for council, put it on the agenda, and then pass it. What's that, Shelley? No, what's the arena committee I'm talking about?
So
there-
there is, sorry, I just need to intervene here. So what you're suggesting is rather than having a recreational committee and an arena committee, maybe it could just be one committee to oversee anything of recreational nature. Is that what you're suggesting?
I've been throughout all of Canada, as you know before, and I've seen all of the recreation committees, and they don't separate a recreation committee, arena committee, a gymnasium committee. Recreation takes care of all of the sports in that particular community, no matter what it is, whether it's the baseball diamonds, the arena itself, the gymnasium, the weights. Recreation takes care of everything, but they have a bigger recreation committee or workers. They have the recreation director, they have a vice director, and then they have maybe a half a dozen workers that work on the recreation.
Aaron, please, son.
And
One
so
person.
that's what I've seen, and we don't have that here.
All right, Aaron?
I think, so with the Parks and Recreation Committee, they do have terms of reference. I think that's the only other active committee that is of council right now, I should say. They haven't had enough attendance to run, but I think why they were bringing forward the Arena Committee, potentially because there are a lot of people that are specifically interested in getting that going. So maybe they would be interested in joining that committee, but not in general joining the Parks and Rec as a whole, Parks and
Okay.
Recreation Committee as a whole.
Okay, I think
Potentially.
wanting to have an arena committee is, well, we first have to work on an arena, like to have an arena. And I'd like to ask somebody, whoever, to put a good, let's say we've talked about a potential, maybe an arena. We've talked about a potential swimming pool. Okay, and you're going to get a lot of positives out of both of them. You'll get a lot of negatives out of both of them because you cannot please 100% of the people 100% of the time. So let's, in due diligence, let's look into the cost of building it, but more so the cost of keeping it going. And I can almost guarantee you that the arena is going to cost you twice as much as a pool will. And the way I look at it, and I have questions just out on the street. I've questioned people. Kids will use an arena. Adults will use an arena, or some kids will use it. But a pool, most kids will use it. A lot of adults will use it, and seniors will use it. You won't see any seniors using an arena. Sure, you'll get the odd one like myself going skating, but more seniors will use a pool than they will. So, we've got to have our due diligence and look into all of these factors.
Okay. If you build it, you should know the capital cost and you should know what's required to operate and maintain it once it's built. And so the budget should be allocated and know the source of revenue. That is simply what happens every place else, and it should happen here.
Mm-hmm.
You don't build it and say, where am I going to get the money now?
To manage
Chris?
it, yes.
So in regards to your point there regarding Ogwari, you talked about I second the arena. I'm not talking about the $50 million NHL size arena.
No,
I was talking about, well, you weren't there. I was there. I was talking about the plan was at the time to enclose the lacrosse box and put some change. And let me finish, please. I'm finished. And that was the plan to, once you enclosed it and then you have some ice there, well, now it becomes an arena. So I'm all on board for spending couple $1 million to finish what we started 25 years ago. I'm not on board for a $50 million NHL size arena. Never was, never will be. And all of a sudden now you see my emotion, but I'm talking about a different arena, which goes back to why do you have 3 or 4 different committees running an arena? It creates dysfunction. Thank you.
So if council wants to amalgamate the arena committee and the recreation committee, you'll require a motion and then meld the two terms of reference and have a bigger committee. But there needs to be a committee, and most committees do actually raise funds for the projects. They just don't look for somebody else to pay for everything.
Chief, can I respond real quick?
Go ahead.
Motion 12 on February 2nd, 2022, moved by Josh Hill, seconded by Chris Merkel to approve to create and post a call for members to be on the MBQ Arena Building Committee.
Yeah. Was
At the beginning
but
of
put
this
it in the
whole
context. The context was
Chris.
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
And at the beginning of this whole ordeal, you said, I knew nothing about an arena committee.
No, a different committee altogether. And again, when I got on council, I said, "What's going on with lacrosse box? What's going on?" I said, "Oh, it's all in the works. It's all in the works. We're doing this, and this." Fast forward 3 years, and it's not even on the agenda anymore. It's not even talked about anymore. Getting that lacrosse box encapsulated as
All
per
right, so anyway,
going on 3 or 4 years ago.
what needs to make up their mind? Council needs to make up their mind of what they want to build. They need to administration needs to bring back the cost to build and operate, or what the projected costs are, and identify the source of funding. Those are the questions that have been raised today at this council meeting. So I'm going to ask administration to do that. If you want the committee to be blended together and just have one recreation that oversees it all, we'll need a motion of council to do that, because there's other motions to establish other committees, a separate arena committee.
Like I had stated before, and I don't know, I'd like to hear a little bit of an input from the other councilors. And like I had mentioned, I've been from one side of Canada to the other, and I've worked through, because it's the only reason why I've traveled through to all of those different communities is through their recreation departments. And what I see is that we do not have a recreation department here that takes care of everything, like I had mentioned before. Whereas it's a bigger department for itself that oversees all of their sports activities, whether it's, like I said, baseball in the summer, hockey, lacrosse, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So a bigger recreation department. And I believe that a while ago, like when I was just a kid, we did have a recreation committee similar to that, but now we do not have an actual recreation committee department. Sorry, not a committee, but a department that oversees all of the sports and everything.
We used to have a very active recreation committee. I remember Donnie and Debbie Smart being on it, Jackie and Dorothy Green.
Okay, let us know.
Might just be the
Like,
banging
They're
around.
installing something in our fire.
You know,